Welcome back, everybody, to Finding My Perfect Awkward. And this week, I am with Corey Dillon. She does mornings on 100.7 Big FM in San Diego. Now, I have to tell you, Corey, that you are one of my favorite human beings on this planet because you're hilarious naturally, and I love you.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, I think that comes out of being awkward. I mean, just, that's where it's born, right? In grade school and just trying to get people to like you and being funny or trying to be funny or being able to laugh at yourself.
Exactly. Legit, I haven't found how to be funny yet. So when I get there, I'll let you know.
Well, I mean, laughter is something that's contagious. So, I mean, if you're laughing at yourself, that's funny. Maybe, depending on what you do.
It's funny when I fall and hit my face on the concrete, but
as long as you're not hurt, right? I mean, I just did
even
that.
Then.
I mean, I just did that. I just got back from my first vacation to Hawaii in 20 years, and wearing the I don't know, the red bathing suit reminiscent of Baywatch. I didn't look like a Baywatch babe in it. Oh Lord. But I was also wearing some what do they call, like wet socks or whatever?
Wet socks?
Well, I think that's what they're called. They have like rubber on the bottom and you wear them in the ocean or in the water.
Water shoes?
What? Yes, sure. Let's call them that. I don't know.
Wait, are they called wet socks?
I don't know. I think so. I can't remember. Water socks, wet socks. They're wet.
Well, you get them wet. I used to wear when I'd go to the pool as a kid, I'd wear water shoes, which were like the squish, 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 squish throughout they were like rubber shoes.
Yeah.
But they were shoes.
They're like ballet slippers, only they're rubber and waterproof. I don't know. But anyway, I slipped on a rock and one knee went this way. And so I'm kind of hobbling everywhere. It's terrible. Like, I may have imbibed in a couple of cocktails but I don't think I was trying to be very careful, but it just, I don't know. My knee is messed up. So I'm like, oh God.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm laughing with you, not at you. A little bit at you. But it's so funny.
I mean, I survived.
I'm glad. That's why we can laugh about it now.
Exactly.
That is why we can laugh about it now.
Exactly.
The first time I met you, it was at Morning Show Boot Camp this last summer, and we had both been drinking, and you didn't know who I was, but you just started talking to me. Like, you started in the middle of a conversation, just started talking to me, and I was like, oh, yeah,
really?
of course, yes.
I do that. But I mean, sometimes I don't know. I think we were friends on social, like Instagram, beforehand anyway. I
think we had followed each other. We haven't had. I'm very awkward by nature, and so I get intimidated by certain beings of importance in my head. The people who have importance in my head, I get intimidated by, and you were one of those people at first. So I had not started a conversation with you before, but it all didn't matter when you walked up to me and started talking about how you hated the shoes that you had on and you thought that you ripped your pants. We were on our
shoes I would have had on.
I have no idea. I think they were some type of heel, but we were on our way to the liquor store to meet a bunch of other radio people, and we were walking next to each other just randomly, and you started talking to me.
This is like right after the Hubbard party, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I thought I lost my cell phone, or I thought a homeless person had it. So we used the Find My Phone thing, and we could see where it was, and it was barely moving, and we convinced ourselves that a homeless person had it. And I was like, I don't have that much cash on me. And Melissa Chase from Houston and I were going to go literally bum rush. We were going to go down to the park like a gang at 11 in the morning. And then, bless his heart, Don Anthony got up on stage. He's like, hey, Hubbard, let us know somebody left their phone at the party last night. I'm like, that's me. But it took me almost the whole day. I don't even know if I got it that day. I just, it's a scene. It's like a reunion, and I love it. I love connecting with all the people that love radio as much as I do. I mean, that's like so much fun, and it's been in Chicago almost every year that I've ever gone. But next year we're going to the Big D.
Dallas, yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. And last year was my first year, but it felt like a reunion to me too, because I had known the majority of the people on social media already. So it was so fun.
Yeah. And I think it's so important and so cool to connect with people that do what we do. I mean, there's just this
Mm-hmm.
weird understanding. It's like a fraternal organization or a sorority or whatever you want to call it. And it's honestly, I wish I had started going sooner. I mean, I've only been going to any kind of conference, radio conference, I think since 2013. So, I mean,
Okay.
barely 10 years, I guess. But, I've been in this business twice as long as that. And I know
Yeah.
how important it is to connect with not only your peers, but decision makers and people that are
Yeah.
making moves and get in front of them and have your name out there and be top of mind when something comes up, the next step in your career.
100%. Yes. And that's what those conferences are all about, is networking and connecting with people. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
So why did you go? This was your first radio conference ever?
Yeah, it was my first one. It was my first one ever. Um, it was, I had wanted to go the year before. The year before that it was virtual. And then the year after that, I didn't go. And I was like, you know what? I'm bound and determined to go next year. And I did. So
Yeah.
it was so cool, though, to see a whole bunch of people who have been in the industry for 20, 30 years, or have been in it for 2, 4, 3, 4, 5 years, like
Yeah.
me. So it was really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. I look forward to it every year. And that's why, some people are like, "Ah, my company won't pay for it." I've always paid my own way. This is
Hmm.
the first year any company that I've ever worked for said, you know what, we're not going to count the vacation time that you were going to take against you, which is
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
I mean, I still paid my own way, but that was a first too. And some employers or bosses don't like you to go because they know how good the networking is and that it's great for your career and things can happen there, you know? Things can happen.
Yep. I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting to your experience, you said that you've been in about 20 years or so. Walk me through your journey. Where did you get started and how did you end up where you are?
So after college, I had some opportunities that I didn't take. I mean, like I wanted to go into entertainment TV, right? So Entertainment Tonight offered me a internship, but it was after I'd already accepted one in Bakersfield, California, the first time I ever lived in California. So I was like 23. And, I mean, yeah, my career may have been a whole lot different, but neither internship paid, I don't believe, but the LA internship, I would have been like one of 30 working in a tape room, and before everything was digital, and it was not paid. It's like, how do you make it in LA without a car, without a job? I guess like everybody
Yeah.
else, right? Everybody else that goes there to be a star, you have to have some kind of financial support or means to do it. So
Yeah.
I was like, can I go back the next year? And they're like, yeah, but I never did. I did a couple of internships at a TV station, Cairo TV in Seattle, a CBS affiliate. And I think, and then after Bakersfield, it only lasted I was there 6 months and I was working and making a little money. I was working at a big band radio station. Do you even know what big band radio is?
I know of Big Band Radio,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
is before my time.
I mean, well, thank you. It's before my time too, Kara. Thank you. I mean, I wasn't born in the early 1900s,
Are you
despite.
never mind.
Yes, I'm sure. Big band. Yes, I'm sure. We're talking about the big swing bands and
Yes.
the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, that kind of thing. But anyway, so I came home and I think it was either while I was doing another internship, I'm not sure, but I got a job working weekends, overnights for KZOK, which is a classic rock station. Danny Bonaducci of the Partridge Family, he's the morning show guy there now. But it's had Bob Rivers and Robin and Maynard before that, who I was their producer for ultimately. And that lasted a few years. And then they flipped the format of one of the radio stations. And again, it was CBS Radio back in the day before Entercom, and then now Odyssey acquired them. And I started doing middays at KISS. I was the original middays at KBKS in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
It's now owned by iHeart. And from there, I worked there for I think I was a midday person for 4 or 5 years, and then I wasn't. They'll let me go. And about a couple months later, 9/11, right? So nobody worked for months or could travel, or, I mean, at least for weeks. I was supposed to go interview in Pittsburgh. I was supposed to go interview in Phoenix. And I feel like one other place, but those had to wait a couple of weeks before people were in the air again.
Yeah.
And so when we did get in the air again, that's when I went to Florida. And it just took several months for the deal to kind of happen. And they flew me out, and I started that job in May of 2002. And I was in Florida, in Tampa Bay, working at 4 different radio stations for 17 years.
Whoa.
So I was there a really long time for just 2 companies. But the main gigs were at WPOI, which was The Point. It's now Hot 101.5. And so that's when I lost my job, when they flipped the format. And 6 months later, I started at a legendary news talk station called WFLA. And I was there just long enough, too long actually. And things didn't work out. Like, that was the first time I really had to deal with a very hostile work environment.
Yeah.
It was very old men I was working with that, just, I don't know, angry old white men. And then they moved me down the hall to Mix 100.7, which was Hot AC. I think it's now moved in more the AC direction. Like they play Christmas music and all that other stuff. But there was a Hot AC that was being voice tracked in the mornings, had Ryan Seacrest on in afternoons, and my boss was doing middays. And in 8 months before they terminated me, I doubled the ratings. Thank you very much. Went from a 4 share to an 8 share.
Whoa.
And they still fired me because the hostile old white guy didn't want me even in the building. So that's what happened. So I was unemployed for 2 years and 7 months, technically, before someone that I never thought I would work with or for, Brian Thomas, because he had been in Chicago and in New York. He had worked in Tampa, but I didn't know him then. And he was good friends with another friend of mine named Ronnie Lane, another legendary guy who's been in the Tampa market for many, many years, off and on. Brian called me actually on my way. I snuck into the NAB radio show. It was in Orlando. And I had met I think at Radio Boot Camp, Buzz Knight. And he's like, why don't you just go? It's like, I've done it before. I was like, really? Okay. I wasn't planning on staying. I don't think I went to any of the panels, but I just went to the bar and hung out and met people, and convinced some other gal that was there to let me crash in her room for $100. So I didn't have to drive home. I mean, it's only an hour and a half drive, but there's drinking involved. So
yes,
you don't want to do that on I-4. It's a death trap.
Yes.
So, and I had talked to Mike McVeigh because I knew, Mike McVeigh? He was the former executive vice president of programming for Cumulus and Westwood One. He now is back to his company, McVeigh Media.
Yes.
Consultant. Yes. Okay. He's kind of a legend in the business too. And I think he's had a big hand in a lot of people's careers. And I stood up and asked a question of the agents panel, actually, one of whom was my former agent. He didn't answer the question though, but it was just about, how the tide had kind of changed. Like I was talking to some people that don't want to talk to a talent if they have an agent, because like my company is a smaller company. It literally is just 4 radio stations in San Diego and a digital media company. And I'm not sure if anyone in the building has an agent. I think they have in the past, but it may not pay, but you're also not paying an agent. So,
right.
I mean, and some agents want anywhere from 6 to 10% or more, which is a lot. It's a lot, especially if they don't ever get you a job, which, I was working with an agency and an agent that got me a couple of interviews, but the best thing they ever offered me was, kind of offered me or asked if I was interested in, was 3rd chair producer for $60,000 a year in Knoxville. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay you $6,000 for a $60,000 a year job with probably very few endorsements and things like that, because the main talent gets that. Right. So anyway, we had broken up, my agency and I, and, at the NAB, I'd stood up and asked a question, and after the panel was over, I guess I did sneak into a panel or two. And I walked out and I was filling up my water bottle, And I hear this voice behind me like, what does GDI stand for? Is it goddamn independent? Because I had said that. I'd stood up and said, hey, I've been a GDI for about 2.5 years now, or 2 years. And it was Mike McVeigh. And he goes, hey, we've got like 400 radio stations with Cumulus. And, some things are happening here and there. And so I said, absolutely, Mike, let's talk. I'd love to. But on my drive out of there, my friend Brian Thomas, who was the program director of the old Kicks 1015 in Atlanta, a country format, which I'd never worked for before, gave me a shout. And he's like, hey, it might be mornings, it might be middays, but we're working on it. We don't know yet. And then they got a little bump in the ratings. And so, this conversation went on from, I think this was in September. I didn't start until February 19th of 2019. So it was several months, so these things happen slowly sometimes. So that's why, as my dad always says, you got to plant seeds and build those relationships. You don't ever want to go to somebody when you need something. Bryan Cranston said, nobody wants to give somebody a job who needs a job, because
Right.
It's like that you ooze that desperation. You got to be doing your own thing. So even if you are unemployed, you've got something going on,
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're already doing it. You already have something to offer somebody. Maybe they don't want it. And if that's the case, that's fine. But if they do, if you're the right fit, perfect.
Yeah. And you got to be a sponge too. You got to want to absorb everything that you can learn, even working or not.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You always have to be learning a new skill and just going. I apologize. I'm like, is something knocking from inside? Did I start washing a little elf or something? I'm like, what is that? But anyway, I was there for 1 year and 10 months. But 1 year and let's say 9 months into it, we were in the middle of the pandemic. I was living and working in my apartment. I was still doing stuff with HSN. I do the occasional on air guest appearance, selling products for HSN, which is the home shopping network out of St. Pete, Florida. Its parent company is QVC. And I was just like, I created a cocktail show. I created a cooking show. I was just bored,
Yeah.
We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. And the day after the election, my phone rang, and it looked like an 800 number, but it was 858. And then I didn't answer it. And then it rang through again, and I was probably a little like, and I answered it. And it was somebody that I'd worked in the same building with 20 years before in Seattle at CBS Radio, Garrett Michaels.
Yeah. Sorry, it kicked me out of my own call.
It was?
It kicked me out of my own call.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I'm back.
I usually, this is what I do. I keep talking despite anyone listening.
Yeah, I missed the last like 2 seconons, but you're good. I'd never done that. It's never done that to me before.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, there you go. We're both awkward, and I just keep talking. So you won't have to edit for content or whatever. I'm still here. But anyway, so it was my old colleague, but I didn't even remember it had been 20 years. And we didn't work in the same building long. And again, it was CBS Radio. But Garrett Michaels is, he's among a lot of people, but he's one of the people that benefited from the wisdom of Scott Shannon in New York, because he had I don't know, or somehow had been mentored by Scott. And Scott helped him get the job in Philly many years ago. And Garrett's been in Seattle a couple of times, and he's now in San Diego for a second time and working for local media San Diego. As am I, because they hired me the day they flew me out for Thanksgiving. My sister's lived here for 30 years, almost 30 years now. They flew me out for Thanksgiving during the pandemic. And the day afterwards, they offered me the job, and I got out of my contract a wee bit early, which was great because I was working for Cumulus, but my general manager, as well as my newer PD, had both worked for Entercom Odyssey, as did Garrett Michaels. And I don't know, they came to some kind of gentleman's agreement about me, I guess, and just let me out of my contract about a month or so early. So it's great. And so I've now been in San Diego about longer than I think I was in Atlanta, which is, it's amazing because just things did not go well in Atlanta. They fired my PD a month after I was there. Then Mike McVeigh left. I felt like everyone in my corner was leaving. And then 4 months in, they fired my co-host and put me in middays after being in mornings. It was like the dream situation that turned into a nightmare, So
yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
a career in radio for you. But now I'm here and
now you're there.
I
Yeah.
don't see myself going anywhere for the long haul. So
That's
it's
the
great.
goal,
I
right?
mean,
That's the goal, is
great.
that you want to get to somewhere where you don't want to leave.
Right, right. I've this is the first time I haven't worked for corporate radio, and it's fantastic. It's great because the thing is, though, and I tell people, and I said to my GM, who's also a co-owner of the company actually, and my boss, I said, thank you for the opportunity because I just know that all things are possible here. One of my colleagues, who is the PD of Magic 92.5 here, is RW. He's syndicated nationally. I mean, you
I
can do
know.
anything you want to do from anywhere that you are in this day and age. I love
Yeah.
that. So you just got to find a good situation and a place you're happy and can afford to live, which San Diego is a very challenging place to afford to live, but I'm making it happen, trying anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what is advice that you would give to someone who is not quite there yet, but is just getting started in the industry?
I mean, just I don't know. Like it's so hard. I mean, like what do you mean just getting started? Like
Like
do they have to
just getting their foot in the door into radio and they're wanting to just take off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, work your ass off, work long hours. I mean, when I was interning and doing radio initially, I was working in Bakersfield, I was doing radio, I was doing TV, I was working in the newsroom, I was working at the big band radio station as the newsreader. I mean, I was working like 70-hour weeks.
Oh my
Legit.
God.
I really was.
Oh,
I do it today. And then, when I started back when radio stations had overnight live talents at KZOK, that's
yeah.
what I was doing, weekend overnights. So I was producing on the morning show and then going home like Elvis Presley, trying to drink NyQuil or something like that to take a long nap, get up and go do a midnight to overnight to 5 a.m. show. I only did it for, I think, a year because it was like, I can't do this anymore.
Oh my gosh.
No life. I mean, there's sacrifice involved. That's what I would say. Early on in your career, very few people are kind of an overnight success. I mean, I think Angie Taylor said, find the elevator, find the people that are going to take you up to the next floor,
Yeah,
and help you out, that believe in you. I mean, I've been in situations where I could tell, even in Atlanta, I don't think they believed in me, and so now here I am in San Diego working for a team that believes in me. Our radio station has been number one. They've owned this company for 15 years. We are the only station in the building that ever got to number one.
wow.
For an entire book, not just like 1 month or whatever, an entire book. And, I'm not number one in the mornings, but I'm doing pretty well
Yes.
against shows that have producers and partners and a whole team. And, so you really just have to work your ass off and do your own thing and be your own person, and if there is somebody that believes in you, even if it's just a mentor from the outside, somebody that's heard your tape or likes it, really foster that relationship.
Yeah.
Really foster it. I mean, I wish I'd been in contact with Garrett long before this, because I think it would have helped. He's been in the industry longer than I have. He knows a lot of people. I don't know if he really goes to these conferences, but I mean, like the morning show boot camp is mostly talent, right? Morning show talent. But I tell people it doesn't matter, if you're morning show or whatever. It's just people that can help your career, and that maybe you can help too. I mean, that's the thing. There's got to be some give and take. I've had some people call me, or blow off a scheduled phone call or whatever. I'm just like, that's disrespectful. And it doesn't set a good tone. Like, why would I want to help you again if I do help you and you don't even say thanks? I mean, it's just rude, right? You wouldn't do that in any industry to a friend. You just thank
in general
their time. Yeah. And respect their time, frankly. But I don't know. I just think you have to work your ass off and really be willing to learn and do whatever it takes. I mean, say yes. If they want you to work weekends, I mean, it makes me laugh that some people don't like the schedule, or, you have to learn how to, fight for your value too, and learn how to negotiate. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I thought I needed an agent, because I was terrible at it. But if I had to do it over again, when I lost my job at Cox Radio, because they flipped the format from the point to hot, I had an opportunity come up almost exactly 6 months later. Actually, it was a little before that, but I started 6 months later. And what they offered me was a 35% pay cut, essentially, to be the
Oh.
third chair. Yeah. And
Oh.
I tried to negotiate, but the person who offers whatever financial amount first, they say, doesn't have the upper leg. You know, what the power that you have is being able to walk away.
Yeah.
Always. And so what I wish I had done at that time, because that wasn't a great offer, but I did get some advice from a former GM, and he's like, well, you'll probably make it up in endorsements and stuff, which I didn't, because the main talent gets that, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't, and I didn't see a raise for almost 5 years. It was,
Oh.
yes.
But that's the name of the game.
That is the name of the game. You have to be able to walk away because you're not going to get a huge raise staying put. I mean, I think the biggest raise I ever got with Cox Radio was like 2.5%, 3.5% maybe per year. When they used to give cost of living increases, which that doesn't really happen anymore. But you have to remember lots of things are negotiable too. It's like time off, vacation time, or just PTO, or guaranteed remotes. I know some people, or endorsements. Somebody that I know did work middays in Atlanta. She got guaranteed endorsements, which they couldn't sell in the Big D, but she got it anyway. Now, will she get it the second year? Maybe not, because they couldn't sell it, but they had to pay her. Because everything, it really, as Judge Judy says, whatever is in the lines of that 8x10 or your paperwork, your contract, because I've been promised, cell phones or laptops or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. It only matters what's in black and white. So it really is important. I don't think you need an agent, but you do need an attorney to look at something or get legal advice, because you're signing a legal document, and even I've had friends that have been in this business 30 something years. They're like, no, it's not a contract. It's a work agreement. I'm like, that's a contract.
It's a contract.
That's a contract. It's legally binding. And, and some of these companies, they decided to verbally change things and not pay him like a bonus, for instance, because they never thought he'd hit it. They're like, oh no, we now give bonuses based on digital, and that's,
which is wild.
But I mean, the hard thing is, it's like, if you want to keep your reputation and you want to still work in this industry, unfortunately, sometimes that's the choice you make. I mean, my agent at the time, when I was dealing with the hostile situation, he said, well, we either litigate or we build a career. And like a lot of people, obviously I chose my career. I'm a single woman. I don't have a silver spoon. I don't have a sugar daddy. Although I did accidentally sign up for that Seeking Arrangement website.
No, you didn't.
They changed their brand, and I read some article on Twitter. Some gal was like, I'm successful, I'm doing okay, and I was tired of meeting guys that whatever, didn't have anything to their name. And so I started doing it, and it was great, and I traveled and did all this other stuff. And so I was like, all right, let me check this out. It's only called Seeking now. I didn't know. And so I figured it out pretty quickly, because a lot of people were looking for arrangements. And I told one guy who was nice about it. One guy was not nice about it. And he goes, I said, well, I'm not really looking for an arrangement, like whatever. And I don't know. I mean, it's so much BS. I'm just like, why? It's so not romantic too. I'm just like, how gross. Like, I don't know. Like,
but that's the whole point.
I know, but I don't like that. I'm a romantic. But this guy was like, funny. Nah, I'm not really that interested to go deep. So I was like, oh, and then he blocked me, and I couldn't even, give him the whatever. But and then this other guy was like, well, I read what you said, but why would you be on a website like this? Why wouldn't you just go over to Hinge? That's another story. Holy shit.
Did you try Hinge?
Oh, I've tried Hinge for sure. Yeah. And there are some nice guys, but I don't know. Like the last guy I talked to, a lot of them will be like, how do you feel about a younger man? I'm like, I wouldn't put it that way. I would say, are you okay with dating somebody my age? Not me, them, Like, I know I'm older, thanks, but.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. But I mean, I have tried Bumble, where it's supposed to be better because the girl starts the conversation. Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm flopping between the two of them, but I haven't I haven't really gone back because the last guy, he was 33, considerably younger than me. Um, and he said he had been judged by some women. I was like, for what? And he said, well, my upbringing and there was some nudity. And I'm like, all right. He said he grew up kind of a hippie way with his mom and his aunt and his cousin and his sister. And I was like, oh, well, nudity, whatever. He's like, I've seen it all. We shared a bathroom. And I'm like, all right. He goes, oh, and the late nursing. He said he was still nursing. I don't know. Just gross though. Like even if he's just really kinky or likes older women I don't know, just super weird. And apparently he had a reputation because there's this website. Do you know about this, Kira? Or it's not a website. It's there's like geographical groups called Are We Dating the Same Guy? San Diego. Are We Dating the Same Guy? Denver. Oh, you got to check that out.
What? Like you can see if your boyfriend is cheating on you?
Or just if you're dating the same guy. And so this guy came up and other women were like, oh yeah, this guy has either a kink or he said he was a Navy SEAL. He told me he was in commercial real estate. He lived in the Irvine area. And then he like deleted our whole conversation, but I snapped a couple of screenshots of his picture. But yeah, yep.
Nursing, like.
I don't think he was actually getting milk. I think the ducts may have dried up at his mother's age, whatever her age might be. But I'm saying like he was still sucking at the teat. Like that's really weird.
Yeah, I don't think it would be actually nursing. But that is quite strange.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he meant maybe as a toddler or something, like he remembers it because I had some European friends. They nurse their babies a little bit late, considering what most Americans maybe like, I don't know, I don't even know, 10 months or whatever, till they start teething, I guess. Is that usually when most women are like, nope, you're done.
Yeah, because it probably starts to hurt, but I don't even know. I have no idea. I also wasn't even nursed that way. I was bottle fed, so.
Oh, really? That explains a lot, Kira.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I was obviously neglected. I don't know.
I mean, my mom may have dropped me on my head. We don't know. Okay.
No, yeah. I don't.
Anyway, yeah. So you want to talk awkward, like dating? Yes. There's so much awkward.
Oh my gosh. So I saw this guy when I was 19. I have two stories for you. One guy brought his uncle with him on a date to a movie theater. I was 19. And I thought that he was just driving us. I was like, okay, you don't have a car. Your uncle's driving us. Whatever. That's fine. I'm 19. That's not very weird.
Yeah.
It was weird when he followed us into the movie theater and sat with us during the movie. That was.
Yeah.
That was strange.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I have to think. I don't know. There's been a lot of dates over the years and in between, not that many. Like, I mean, I haven't had a good date in a year. Really, almost a year. Oh. Christmas time, it'll be a year.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I blame a pandemic for that.
The pandemic made it very difficult to date, even virtually. It's not the same. Have you ever been called a very strange nickname?
Well, my dad has a nickname for me, and it's strange to other people because they're like, does he know what that means? Okay. When I was a kid, I had this like hand, it's like a double hand muff is what it's called. And mine was like the Russians wear them, I think. I don't know. You put your both hands in there like Dr. Zhivago or whatever. And so that was my nickname, Muff. And so one time friends would call the house, and my dad still calls me that. And, somebody would call the house. My parents still have a landline. Not that anybody really uses it anymore, but they would call the house and, my dad would be like, "My phone." And I got on the phone and my friend was like, "I'm sorry, what did he call you?"
Wait, what does that mean?
Muff? You don't know what a muff is?
Do I have to Google it?
After you're done Googling muff, look up merkin. M-I-R.
Wait.
My girlfriends and I used to laugh hysterically at that. A muff is your,
Wait, I see it, a tube made of fur or other warm material into which the hands are placed for warmth.
Yes.
It's that. Okay.
Yes.
That's the thing.
That's the original.
So then the Urban Dictionary. Oh.
Okay, now, yes. Okay, that's
Okay.
hilarious. Now
Okay.
I want you to look up what a merkin is. My girlfriends and I, one of my girlfriends got me one for my birthday, but then she moved and she couldn't find it, but she says she found it again. A merkin, M-I-R-K-I-N, I think.
M-I-R-K-I-N.
Or K-E-N, I'm not sure.
Okay, got it. Okay, wait,
Okay.
hold on. Ew.
Oh my
If you
God.
have lice there, you have more
Well,
issues than that.
yes, I know, but the reason, does it go into like where it came from, a merkin?
It said the Middle Ages, so
Well, yeah, like the Middle Ages or like the gold rush, because in the gold mine towns, where the ladies,
oh,
they had to shave it off if
ew.
they got an STD, but that wasn't the fashion. I don't know. So they had to wear like a fake one, a wig for down there.
Ew.
Yeah.
But it's an actual puke.
I don't know. I don't know what it was made of. Beaver fur, maybe beaver fur.
Well, in the Middle Ages, I don't think they had a choice. I don't think they had synthetic hair at the time.
No. Yeah, you're right. Probably not. So it probably was like a little, maybe
It
that's
was
where beaver from. I don't know. I mean, what do they use? Like, I guess, like, aren't there seriously, like, even some condoms that are, like, really lambskin or something like that?
yeah, now not all of them are.
Egypt or something?
Well, people are allergic to latex, so they had to start making them out of other things. And I think that's one of them.
I mean, safety first, but yeah, I don't know.
Ew. Okay. I'm
Okay.
gonna ask you some random questions. Not to say that wasn't random and fun.
Yeah.
I call these rapid questions, but they're usually not rapid, so that's usually a play on words.
All right.
Your fave beverage, alcoholic or not?
I'd probably have to say, I do like a really great margarita.
Ooh, regular? Oh, okay.
Spicy, skinny margarita, which skinny honestly just means that you don't have any pre-made sour mix in there. It's just like lime juice, agave, tequila, and jalapeno with a little tahini rim. Do you know tahini?
Yes, tahini.
Okay. I didn't really know about tahini until I moved to San Diego in Southern California, but they put it on just about every.
They put it on they put tahini on everything now. You can get it on the like strawberry stuff, the strawberry sauce. You can get it in different flavors.
You know what it's really good on though too? Just even like chopped up mango. I'm obsessed with mangoes. So yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's an interesting question only because when I started this cocktail show, and I'm starting to try. I mean, I'm trying to create a website, having somebody build a website for me. I don't know how that's going. I haven't heard from her in like a month. Just trying to brand myself. Because again, you always have to be kind of thinking of your brand these days.
Yes.
Like, and I had the hardest time with like your brand. Your brand is your reputation, right? I mean, that's the easiest definition that was easily understandable for me. And so I'm trying to brand that. So I've made hundreds at this point, or at least 100 cocktails, mostly from either pre-prohibition or prohibition. And those are honestly my favorite because I don't love like the super sugary, like I tried to make an appletini that didn't taste like it was made with, apple pucker, like super sugary stuff.
Yes.
But, the cocktails that came out of pre-prohibition and prohibition, chef's kiss. They're just so good. So good.
See, I love the sugary things, but I like my drink, I love the shot. I love lemon drop shots and I love vodka crayons. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Shots though, or just the regular cocktail?
No, I like the shots, the lemon drop shots.
Real quick, like you don't want to enjoy the,
Not the lemon drop. I like vodka crayons. I like the sugary things. Like I can do Jello shots and stuff, but I love just being able like the sugar on the lemon instead of the rim.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else, like another good cocktail that you'd probably like then. I cannot off the top of my head. I've made so many that are just delicious though. I mean, delicious. Like some are great, some are okay. But, Like I've
Yeah.
made drinks called the Hanky Panky. I've made drinks called the Airplane, or what else? I mean, just they have just fun names. I mean, oh, a drink that if you like the lemon drop, you'd probably like the Bee's Knees. Oh,
Oh,
super
what's the bee's
good.
knees?
Do you like gin though? Some people are like, I don't like gin. I'm like,
If
well,
it's sugary enough.
yeah, but I'm like, maybe you haven't had the right gin drink. Bee's Knees, let me see if I can remember. I think it's just gin, honey syrup instead of simple syrup, which is just you just
Okay.
honey and water, and you kind of reduce it down to it's a little thinner liquid.
Okay.
Sugar syrup is just like a cup of sugar, a cup of water, and you boil it down till it's liquefied and
Mhm.
emulsified.
Yes.
So a Bee's Knees is just, I believe, lemon juice, honey syrup, and gin, and it's so good.
Ooh.
It's
That
so
sounds good. That sounds like a
make sure.
an alcoholic cough syrup, but good.
Well, and that's like the hot toddy, right? I just made that drink. I mean, that drink is a pre-prohibition drink. My dad used to make us something called special medicine when we were sick. It was just honey, lemon, and whiskey, right? Good old Irish whiskey.
Seriously, whiskey does work.
Yeah.
Whiskey does work.
A
Yes.
little bit though. Bee's Knees cocktail. Let's see if I got it right. I just want to find a good recipe, because there's a cocktail book out that was written in 1930, but it was written by a man named Harry Craddock, who was working at the Savoy Hotel in London, and he wrote down a bunch of these recipes, like hundreds of things that he had, recipes that he had just written down on note cards. He wasn't compensated for it. It's still selling today, many, 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 decades, 100 years later almost. And he like died a pauper. He was buried in a pauper's grave.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 2 ounces of gin, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, freshly squeezed, half an ounce of honey syrup, and you garnish with a lemon twist. And it is delicious. It's
That
really good.
sounds so good.
Yeah, I love, with craft cocktails in the aughts. I guess that was like, I don't know, when did they really kind of start booming again? Like 2007 to 2010, and craft cocktail bars started popping up. Yeah, like drinks like that. I mean, they were like, where do we go for craft cocktails? And they probably opened up Harry Craddock's The Savoy Cocktail Book and had plenty and hundreds to choose from. There's like 700 recipes, I think, in there.
Wow.
So it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
So,
first ever celeb crush.
I hate to admit this.
Uh-oh.
Chachi. He's gone off the rails now. Chachi, though.
Chachi.
I can't remember what his name is. Oh God, yeah, I had a big, 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 big crush on him. He's gone far right rails now. People that have gone all the way to one side or the other, I'm like, keep it to yourself.
But Chachi, I mean, even that aside, I'm a little shocked.
Really? Who did you think? Like
Chachi?
That's the youngest one I can remember. I mean, celebrity crush. From Happy Days or whatever.
Yeah. No.
Gather around the TikTok children. Let me tell you about when we only had 4 channels.
You're not okay. Off the record, you're not that old though. I didn't think.
Thank you. I'm glad. I mean, that's the other part of your brand you're trying to like protect. But yeah, I mean, I'm 51.
No, you are not.
So 51. I am. I know. I cannot believe it myself. I really honestly can't believe it myself. But it's one of those things that's like, it's scary in our industry. Like I thought by the time I became 50 that hatchet would be coming for me in this industry. But I think, at the time I was having difficulty with those 70, 65 and 75-year-old men that, I was only like around 40. And it came for me sooner. I thought I'd like been blacklisted and all that stuff. So yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, there's that side, but then there's a side like good for you, because I was guessing early 40s.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like good for you.
I appreciate that. My doctor thanks you. My endorsements at the thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna need those eventually.
Hey.
I already have them.
No. What are you like? 25? 24. Yeah. See, like I don't think I started doing Botox till my 30s for sure, if that. I don't remember when I first did it. I didn't keep it. Dear diary. Today, Today we have decided to hold on to our youth artificially.
Well, they're good for headaches, I think.
Well, yeah, like my niece has migraines and it didn't help her. She's gotten pretty bad though.
Oh.
So she tried everything.
Oh my God.
So yeah. So okay, what's another question?
Okay, next one. Your first ever job, even outside radio.
I think, I mean, it was definitely in like the restaurant industry. And I think it was at Marie Callender's.
Oh.
I don't even know if they still have restaurants, but they had restaurants. In addition to the fabulous pies that you can buy in your local grocer's freezer. But yeah, pot pies, pumpkin pies.
There's one in Vegas. There's a
really?
restaurant in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. So they, so I was a hostess. Yeah, that was my first and I was going to say, like, when I lost my job before 9/11 and through 9/11, I worked at a restaurant again, but people thought I was a manager or whatever. I was just a hostess, but I got a great shift meal. It was a really nice restaurant. I mean, one shift meal was like steak and lobster tail. I was like, yes, please.
Whoa.
It was good.
Wow.
Okay. But I mean, this goes to like, your brand too. It's like people they thought I was a manager. I'm like,
well, if you carry yourself like
yes,
professionally enough and like confident enough.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Last question. Can you do an impression of anything or anybody?
Okay. Yes. And the only reason why I do this impression, this one in particular, Gilbert Gottfried, may he rest in peace. You know Gilbert?
Yes,
he did
of course.
The voice of, was it the Aflac duck, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Part of my demise at the radio station that I was working for in Florida, when they had started that very hostile situation, I had to raise my hand to speak, and it was bad. It was really bad. I was allowed to ask like one question. Every Friday we would have a traveling comedian that was coming through the comedy clubs in town. And this week it happened to be Gilbert Gottfried. And I was sitting in my chair. There were three of us around our console, right? And we had another room with our producer and our board operator in it. And I raised my hand to ask Gilbert one question. And he looks at me from this way and he goes, "You're raising your hand to ask a question?" And I said, "Well, they make me do that around here in order to talk." And I laughed it off, but the fellas didn't think that was so funny. And from behind me, I could see through the glass that was, behind me into the studio. I saw him run into, he was listening in his office, obviously, because I saw him run into the production studio. And then afterwards, my producer was like, "You should," and Gilbert said it twice too. He's like, "Oh, you're raising your hand to ask another question?" I mean, it's a terrible impression, but there it is. And people that were listening, some thought it was hilarious, and I laughed it off. They tried to use that to fire me. I was like, my producer was like, "Maybe you could just tell people you're stretching." I'm like, they can't make you do that. They can't make you do special things in order to. I mean, it was terrible.
That's awful. I'm sorry. Do it one more time.
Okay. "So Gilbert, how, whatever, blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "You're raising your hand to ask a question?" I was like, "Yep, I am." Sure am, Gilbert. I have that on audio actually somewhere in the archives because I wanted it to save my ass, and they stupidly sent it to me, among other things.
I'm cutting that for a promo for this episode.
Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, that's the only one I do. I've never had anyone else inspire me quite that way, I guess
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Corey, for being on this week. I appreciate you. Of course. And I look up to you. So thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next for you. And I hope to be around to see it for a very long time. Just kidding. Because I mean,
you're not that old, Corey.
What? I know, but
you're not that old.
In the business, you know what I mean? It's show business, and it is constantly trying to stay relevant in show business. I mean, I don't know too many people that had like the comeback that John Travolta did, right? It's like he was so gone from this business, from Welcome Back Kotter to like, I think when Pulp Fiction came out, that was like he was back, you know? And now I think he's like this again, but still it's like that doesn't I don't you don't see that happen for too many people in radio especially. So it's like you got to be a social media superstar these days. You got to do TV too if you can, and radio, and just you have to do it all and
Yeah.
really be that content creator and just constantly be doing stuff.
Speaking of social media, where can people find you?
Well, I at Corey Dillon 1 on Instagram, and I think it's TikTok, the TikTok. I think it's Ms. Corey Dillon there, and on YouTube, which I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel, and just Corey Dillon on Facebook, and the Twitter. Who knows how long that will last? At Corey Dillon.
I'm sorry. Did somebody already have Corey Dillon without the one?
Yes, and actually, an actor, a guy in that lives, I think, in San Diego now. I'm like, I don't know how much he uses it or if he's given up on his acting career. One of these days, I should ask him.
Yeah, you should give him a call and be like, "Listen, dude."
Dude. But I don't know if I have the money to pay for it, and that they want to hold you hostage and totally shake you down. Yeah. So I think that's what that situation was. And there is another Corey Dillon in radio who I think he was in Seattle, my hometown. In fact, when he got that job, Fred Jacobs messaged me on Twitter to congratulate me. I was like, yeah, it's not me.
Not me.
Not me. So I don't know if that kid, if that's his name or whatever, but he's moved on to, I think he lost that job. I think he's in Houston doing country radio now, I think. Houston, Texas, somewhere. It's a big place.